Good morning. If somebody could give me some feedback on how this works with this headset, the fantastic fan is ramped up. There's no need for air conditioning right now, but the fan is making quite a bit of noise. I have the noise cancellation maxed up. Volume's up okay. I don't get to hear myself all that well inside these cans. I do have my new hearing aids in, and so what we're going to do is we're going to do a Bible study. We're going to do Genesis 7 today. I'm going to try to cover this. And again, I'm brainstorming. I'm sharing my thought processes with you. I don't expect you to take them wholesale. I expect you to read it yourself and apply your own thought processes to it. I will probably tell you when I think something's absolute or important and all that. And I will also give you the outlandish possibilities as well. Why do I do that? I do that because I want you to be flexible. I want you to be flexible in your thinking. What I need you to realize is that the modern churches today use this book, they misuse it, and they misuse the power of it to paint the wrong picture. Now, I've got a series of CDs, and I've got permission from Pastor Jerry Wicke to post his sermons. I'll be doing that. I've saved quite a few of them. The one that's in my car right now is very interesting because it points out that if you don't use the full Bible, if you don't have the whole thing, this whole thing, you've got the New Testament and Old Testaments in it. I mean, if you don't have the whole thing, then you will not be able to see, as he puts it, the real Jesus. You'll see the Antichrist instead of the real Christ. You'll see a different one. Of course, as you can imagine, I don't really like the term Christ or Christian very much. It's okay, but in this Bible, we refer to him as the Messiah, and his name is Yeshua, not Jesus. This is accurate, much more accurate. But most of you like the term Jesus, the name Jesus, so I'll do that. I'll use that, and I will use Christ as well. And I will give a specific coverage as to what I think we ought to be calling why and all that, as best I can. I'm not a pastor. I'm not a prophet. I'm not a Bible scholar. I'm just a Bible reader. That's all I am. I started kind of late in life. If I had to live my life over again, I would definitely want to know several languages. I'd want to know Latin and Greek, and I'd like to know Aramaic, and Paleo-Hebrew would be really nice. I'd like to know some more modern languages too, but here we go. Genesis 7. And Yahweh said unto Noah, Come you and all your house into the ark, for you have I seen righteous before me in this generation. So out of all those in the current cohorts, Noah is righteous. That's a pretty bad sign on the rest of humanity. Of every clean beast you shall take to you by sevens, the male and his female. And of the beasts that are not clean by two, the male and his female. Of the flower, I believe there's taken 7 of each clean animal, probably for a special reason. One thing is that only clean animals can be food for Adam and Adam kind. Adam's got a special diet, and there's nothing in this book that has unrestricted the original guidelines for the diet. If you want to eat against those guidelines, you won't have as much health. Definitely not as much health. And of course, we see 2 of the unclean things. That's adequate, apparently. Genesis chapter 7, verse 3. Of fowls also of the air by sevens, the male and the female, to keep seed alive upon the face of all the earth. For yet 7 days, and I will cause it to rain upon the earth 40 days and 40 nights. And every living substance that I have made will I destroy from off the face of the earth. Significance here, rain. It hadn't rained before. Now maybe that's too strict of an interpretation. Maybe it's an error to think that way. But from the earlier reading, we find that the garden was watered by dew and by water coming up from the earth. there wasn't any rain back then, is what I've been told in the big box churches. I'll lean in that direction. Can't take everything away from them. They might be right about that. In Genesis chapter 7, verse 5, and Noah did according to all that Yahweh commanded him. And Noah was 600 years old when the flood of waters was upon the earth. Now the interesting thing here is man's only going to live 120 years according to this earlier passage that we read. So according to an earlier chapter, that God is limiting man's lifespan to 120 years. Yet we've got Noah at 600. So that's something that we need to look at someday. I don't have any answers on that. Noah was 600 years old when the flood of waters was upon the earth. And Noah went in, and his sons and his wife and his sons' wives with them into the ark because of the waters of the flood. Of clean beasts and of beasts that are not clean, and of fowls and of everything that creeps upon the earth. There went in 2 by 2 unto Noah into the ark, the male and the female, as God has commanded Noah. Now, if we really want to do a very strict interpretation, we could say there's internal inconsistency, because he's supposed to take sevens of the male, sevens of the female, the way I read it. And here it is, they went 2 by 2 unto Noah, so they showed up in pairs. It's like the animals knew, we've got to get out of this thing, and they went to Noah. So that's an interesting thing as well. Okay, and verse 10, and it came to pass after 7 days that the waters of the flood were upon the earth. In the 600th year of Noah's life, in the 2nd month, the 17th day of the month, the same day were all the fountains of the deep broken up, and the windows of heaven were opened up. That doesn't sound like dew bubbling up from the earth, and it doesn't sound like rain either. It sounds like a tremendous deluge. If there was a firmament above the earth, and it was an ice dome, then maybe that would be the source of the water that was opened up of heaven. That's thinking out there. That's not possible, mind you. Just relax on that. That's kind of brainstorming. It's a possibility. It's outlandish. And the rain was upon the earth 40 days and 40 nights. Interesting thing about 40 days and 40 nights is that a lot of tales are built on that. And 40 days and 40 nights, fasting's done on that. And 40 days and 40 nights, habits are made or broken across that length of time. Okay, so it's interesting. In the very same day entered Noah and Shem and Ham and Japheth, the sons of Noah, and Noah's wife, and the 3 wives of his sons with them into the ark. 3 sons, 3 wives. Sounds like each one had just one wife. That would become significant later on when you want to get into this multiple marriage stuff and multiple wives. Okay. They and every beast after his kind, and all the cattle after their kind, and every creeping thing that creeps upon the earth after his kind, and every fowl after his kind, every bird of every sort. They went unto Noah into the ark, 2 and 2 of all flesh, wherein is the breath of life. And they went in male and female of all flesh, as God had commanded him, and Yahweh shut him up. By the way, the word flesh stands out to me because in the New Testament we will read that if the time was not cut short, all flesh would perish. Now, perhaps I'm in error, thinking that, I thought it would be all of Adam kind would be perished. But it might actually apply to all flesh. It might be reflective of the same passage we're reading. It might be that all life, all animal life. Remember, folks, the earth groans for her saviors. They went in male and female of all flesh as God had commanded him, and Yahweh shut him in. And the flood was 40 days upon the earth, and the waters increased, and bore up the ark, and it was lifted above the earth. And the waters prevailed, and were increased greatly upon the earth, and the ark went upon the face of the waters. So this vessel is seaworthy, and the waters are lifting it up. And the waters prevailed exceedingly upon the earth, and all the high hills that were under the whole heaven were covered. 15 cubits upward did the waters prevail, and the mountains were covered. 15 cubits, a cubit is approximately 1.5 feet, so 15 cubits is going to be, well, 15 plus 15 half feet, so you're looking at more than 20 feet of water. You're looking at, 15 yards, 22 yards of water or so. And all flesh died that moved upon the earth, both of fowl and of cattle and of beast, and of every creeping thing that creeps upon the earth, and every man. We would want to look that word man up. I might do that. All in whose nostrils was the breath of life, and of all that was in the land died. And every living substance was destroyed which was upon the face of the ground, both man and cattle and the creeping things and the fowl of the heaven, and they were destroyed from the earth. And Noah only remained alive, and they that were with him in the ark. And the waters prevailed upon the earth 150 days. So it takes us up to chapter 8. We're going to wait on that. I want to separate these out so people can read along and study along. So I'm covering this in a very basic sense. And that word man is important because man actually is translated from several different words in the old language. So it could mean a lot of things. It could mean just one specific type of man, or it could mean that as a group. Again, that's context. It's hard for us to read this stuff in context. All right, that's a nice, short, sweet one. I think we'll call it at that.